This episode is brought to you by Indie Film Hustle Academy, where filmmakers and screenwriters go to learn from top Hollywood industry professionals. Learn more at ifhacademy.com. I'd like to welcome to the show Simone Bartesaghi. How are you doing, Simone?
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much, Alex. Very good.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I worked hard on that name pronunciation, so I hope I did okay.
Very good. You did very well. Thank you for paying attention to it.
So thank you for coming on the show, my friend. I wanted you to come on the show because you have a book called The Director's Sixth Sense, and I have the book here, and everybody should definitely check it out. And we're going to talk all about your approach to directing, which I'm really excited. Mm-hmm. When I was looking over the book, it was a very interesting approach on how you do things. So before we get into the meats and potatoes of the book, how did you get started in the business?
Well, I always had a passion for storytelling in general since I was a kid, really. And for part of my life, I went in a different direction. I didn't think that I didn't even understand it was actually a director or a screenwriter behind movies. I was just watching them and being excited, and actually writing little stories when I was back in Italy. But then I got my MBA from University of Pisa. I got a business started and got married, and life was proceeding in a kind of normal direction. And then slowly, the desire to do more creative work started to emerge. And my wife, that is way smarter than me, for Christmas gave me a gift, that it was a 3 months attendance to a night class about filmmaking. And at the end of these 3 months, we were meeting every Wednesday night for 3 hours. And at the end of that, we would shoot a short. And so for the first time in my life, I had the opportunity to say action. And I still remember that night. I still remember the smell. I still remember everything about it, because it was the moment that I thought, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. That moment of focus, of everybody around you working so hard to achieve a common result, and then that moment of shift between the real world, that is us preparing and working with lights and always too many people in a smaller space, and then all of a sudden when you say action, everybody just stop breathing, and the only thing that comes alive is actually what you created, what the fantasy that you had until a few seconds before. And so that transition became kind of a ritual and something of a sort of religion element for me. And I got hooked, and I started to shoot more shorts. And a few years later, I won actually a festival in Italy. It was called Milan International Film Festival. And that festival, that year, I was very lucky. The prize was actually the full tuition for the Los Angeles Film School. So the 1 year program for the Los Angeles Film School. So they shipped me here in 2004. Me and my wife, we decided to do this adventure together. And at the end of the 12 months, we were ready to go back to Italy when I got the first offer for the first job. And now we are still here.
You're stuck there. You haven't escaped yet. You haven't escaped from LA yet.
No, not at all. No. Actually, we are even American citizens, so we did the full transition.
That's amazing. I always like to refer to what we do as the beautiful sickness, because it is exactly that. It is beautiful, but it is an absolute sickness. There's a compulsion that we have to continue to make movies and create, and there's no logic behind what we do. Like in the sense of like a normal human being would leave after a certain, like if you get beat up as much as you do in this process.
Absolutely, yeah. And the issue is that because it comes out of a true passion, it doesn't die, and you almost would be willing to pay to do it. And say these things out loud.
No, but that's the sickness,
the issue, right?
The sickness. That's the thing. And you would. It's like, you mean I get paid to do this? Like, I still remember the first time I got a check for directing. I'm like, wait a minute. I would have done this for free. I have no problem doing this for free.
Yeah, but that's need to say it out loud.
Yeah, of course not. I'm way past the days of I'll do it for free. Uh, I've got a family to support. When you're 20 something and sleeping on a couch somewhere,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could
that's different.
you could do it for free. But it is this kind of compulsion to continue to create. And I always tell people, once you get bitten by that bug, it never goes away ever. It can go dormant for decades, but it always shows its
Come back.
ugly and beautiful head at the same time. Now, was there a
Yes.
film? Was there a film that kind of lit your fire? Was there a movie that you saw that you just like, oh, wait a minute, I think I want to go down this road? It's something that kind of sparked the idea.
Uh, a movie in particular, I mean, movies has always been kind of part of my life, and they've been inspiring in different ways. The very first movie I ever saw was Star Wars,
Of course.
and then I always say that you have a little taste of that one, and it's pretty good. And then more influential for me were later on Dead Poet Society, because I
Oh,
was watching it exactly when I was in high school, and I wanted to create my Dead Poet Society, and nobody would follow me. But the idea was there. And then I'd say probably American Beauty came at the moment in life where the feeling of some sort of a crisis, or thinking about what you really want to do in life was more present, and again the possibilities actually to have that opportunity that we had in 2004 to really change everything is not easy to come. So kind of it came kind of at the same time. So the inspiration, it was from American Beauty, and later on even from Matrix eventually,
oh, of course.
was actually to think about who you are and what you want to do. And that's when many things started to spin around. And strange enough, one thing that I just remember, that when Star Wars Episode One came out, uh, in my way to deal with my creative side, was actually on Saturday afternoon to play to do role playing games. And I mean, at that time I was already 28, 29, so usually you stop sooner, but I was keep doing that. And my Saturday afternoon was my ritual with role playing games. And we decided actually to put up a little play with costume and lightsaber and everything. And I choreographed the entire fight and the whole thing. And we presented the event on a stage. And that's where I think I had the first taste of putting together a team and have the sense of how collaboration and creativity can really bring something that is bigger than the sum of the single parts. And exactly at that time is when my wife started to feel that I needed more to release my tension in some way. And when I went to that school, so all those things kind of happened at the same time.
That's a great story. Now, let me ask you, how do you? I mean, what is the six senses in your opinion of directing?
Well, the basic idea is that when we tell stories, especially when we tell stories in film, we are telling stories about human experience, and the basic of human experience is our life.
Right.
So I felt that I could compare the six senses to a way to pay attention to things that are happening to you in your life, that in a certain way will resonate and will help you later on while you're making your movie. In some ways, a very basic way of thinking related to the fact that everybody can be a director if we pay attention to things in a certain way and we look at and feel things in a certain way. Um, and of course, the easy one is, when you watch something, you compare it with using the camera or other elements. When you touch things, it's compared to production design.
Hmm.
And there are a little more complicated things like smell, that is about bad performances, and the final one, that is the sixth sense, that represents the vision of a director. And so analyzing and comparing the fact that when I was starting directing and I was starting to think about the story I wanted to tell, many stories were coming out of my personal experience.
Hmm.
And the more I was authentic and the more I was honest in what I wanted to tell, and it's the better I was working as a director and a storyteller. and that's how the whole idea of the book came up. Also, at that time, I started to teach, and I realized that there were no books about being a director. There were many how to, how to do a breakdown of a script, how to
Mhm.
hire a writer or how to do blocking and this kind of thing. But there was nothing about how to be, how to live, and how to, in some way pay attention to all the inputs that life is giving you in order to become a better director. And because there was no book about it, I wrote it.
Right, right. I got you. Now, in your book, you actually you had a great chapter of how to smell a bad performance. It is a
Yeah.
great question because so many directors don't understand the difference between a good or bad performance. It's not something. It's hard to teach it. It's something that you have to
hmm
have instinctually. You can give cues, but I love to hear your definition of how to smell a bad performance in an actor.
Well, again, it started even before working with actors. It started with your research and your openness to um, look at how people behave. Because after all, especially in film, a different kind of in theater, where everything is kind of more fake in some way,
Mhm.
the projection of the voice and
Right.
everything is much larger than life. But in movies, we can be as sophisticated and as subtle as we want, and having the opportunity to pay attention to how other people behaves and also apply a strong empathy to how people behave around you and how they react to things that you say or amongst each other. It's a great source of inspiration because you see around real life, and then when you apply these elements to the acting, for me, it's always getting to the honest level of the actor. There is lots of layers of sophistication of training and other things that can help get into real emotion. But in the end, what we need to see is honesty and all those layers of protection that we create in our own life, kind of being put aside in order to give something to the audience. And the process for me goes from a very simple word that is the trust. So the ability to create a relationship with the actor in knowing that the actor is trusting the director to always push to the limit, to be honest about the performance and never short uh, cut because of other necessity. And on the other side, the trust of the director to the actors to know that they're going to push themselves and they're going to be willing to open themselves up. One of the processes that I follow a lot is to actually um, work with the actors before as much as we can in pre-production so that we can understand the character as much as we can. But also there are 2 points that I try never to uh, avoid or to break. One is actually avoiding casting. It's I try to have meetings at lunch or a coffee. I like to meet the person before meeting the character because usually when you do casting, there's always that element of selling yourself in some way. When you have lunch or dinner, all those barriers quickly they go down, and you really meet more the real person or as real as you can. And the second element is the fact that I rely a lot on their instinct in terms of blocking and owning the place. So I have my shot list, I have my blocking diagram, I have everything ready. But I like the fact that once we get to the set, they must feel that that is their environment to deal with. And I take lots of time, usually during the day, to make sure that that part comes as honest as possible. And I have my own recipe that is kind of a checklist for blocking, because through that process, um, the actors start to lose the feeling of performing, but they start to actually feel the environment, and the environment itself gives them inputs and suggestions on what to do.
So,
So in some way, I'm just trying. Most of the work is to try to eliminate the focus on the performance and on the lines, and to more on the living the moment and owning the moment.
So that answer really covers, which was going to be my next question. How do you work with actors? But is there a technique you use, or what is the thing that you, when you see a bad performance, like that's something that it's really hard to pinpoint. Like,
Yeah.
is it because it's stiff? Is it because it's not honest? Is it because you're not feeling it? What is there any little cues that any advice you could give to directors listening?
Well, there are there are elements that are instinctive, that you feel that there is something that is not working right, and that instinct is come with time, and comes with also how much you know the character, how much you know well your world, and how much you do your own researches. But I'd say that there is one element that I always pay attention to, that is little instinct in body language that actors sometimes have. You might see someone delivering a line and then having a little moving forward or on the side that would give you a sense of, oh, that actor had an instinct to move, to do something different, or to react in a certain way. And those little moments, I pay a lot of attention to them in blocking and during rehearsal, because usually they mean that we are not done with the quality of the performance that we can get. Because there is a level of uncertainty in owning the moment that we can keep exploring. And usually the actors themselves that are giving me this sense of, oh, there is a moment that is stiff, there is a moment that doesn't really work, because their body language itself in some way give away that there is something that is not working. So what I look for is moment of uncertainty in body language, little gesture that doesn't work. And what I do, I go to the actor and says, listen, I noticed that when you said that line, I felt that there is something more, that you wanted to do something instinctively, and maybe you didn't do it because I told you to stay there. So feel free to do it. And from that moment, usually, again, there is more trust, but also there is the understanding of an exploration. And the other thing that for me is really an indication that we are a little bit far away from the right performance is when there is too much staring in the eyes. When they keep looking at each other for the entire dialogue, that's where I feel that is totally not authentic. They will never do something like that in life. And so I always try to give them some activities or some business to do to make sure that these help them to not being stuck with this staring moment that I think that they're very unreal.
No, that's excellent. That's a great advice on how to pick out some bad performances. Now, have you ever on the set? I mean, I've had this happen, and I've seen this happen. It's all about trust with an actor. If the actor doesn't trust you, they can go off the reservation. Have you, like on day one when an actor shows up, been tested? Like test you to
Yeah.
see, am I safe? A seasoned actor depends on who it is. If it's like Meryl Streep could do it in any condition. She's like, I don't care. I'm Meryl Streep. I'll be fine. But for other actors, they'll test the director just to see if they're in a safe space, and that will determine how far they go in their performance. That will determine a lot of different things. And if they don't feel safe, they act up, they
Yeah.
push, they create problems. There's other things, or they'll just not listen to you and do their own thing because like I got to protect myself. How have you dealt with that when it has happened to you in your career?
Well, to be honest, I had more this kind of situation with um, less known or less prepared actors
Yeah.
than with professional actors. Very well, well known or professional actors. Um, the test actually happened before, happened almost outside the
At
set
dinner.
when
At
you think about
dinner.
the character at dinner. Exactly, that's the moment where you really you feel it if you own them, if you try the trust is building up or not. And little hiccups on set, they are normal and they're part of the researches of what we do all the time. So that's usually with very good actors, they uh, they eventually help you if you are in trouble more than anything. I mean, I heard the legend of Marlon Brando testing
Oh,
directors and other situations like that. But so far, to me, with those kind of actors, I never had any issue, and I work with some very good ones. So mostly with less known actor or less prepared, that they have actually the biggest issue is that they don't own their method yet, whatever that method is, in terms of their approach to the material. And sometimes their uncertainty uh, built up on moment of mistakes, a moment of difficulty that happen on set. And my solution is always very, very simple, is taking 5 minutes and talking on the side and figuring out if there is something that actually the tension has created. And I'm very honest. I mean, I remember one time I went and I said, listen, if you don't like me, I understand, but you need to like your character. That actually was a villain, so it was even more complicated. But you need to. It's going to be your face on the screen. So in not delivering or keep being distracted by the things that are happening on set. And actually, it was a little bit of stiffness in the performance, but mostly was attitude on set that was really preventing these actors to deliver. And I think that in that moment of honesty, where I explained exactly what I was feeling, and I didn't have any problem in saying, we don't need to be friends. We need just to deliver and agree on what to deliver. Everything went started to go in the right direction. Um, One thing that I try to avoid is to trick the actors into something that uh, the classic example of telling them, I think that your character will feel better if it goes, to open the door or lean backward or deliver that line with a specific performance. Because I think that if there is a technical necessity for me because I need the next close up done in a certain way, they understand better than me because they've been on more set than any other director that they work with, right? So just statistically. So when you tell them your necessity and you're honest about what you want to do, they should react in the right way and help you in that way. When you try to trick them, it depends. That's a difficult situation because sometimes you might actually lose their trust because they see that you're lying. And
right.
someone said the actors are lie detector, right? So as a lie detector, they can see through you very, very quickly if they do their job.
Now, with that said, I know a lot of times when you're a young director or inexperienced director and you walk onto set for the first time, a seasoned crew will smell it
Yeah.
in a second. And
Yeah.
how did you deal with, and have you ever had to deal with, department heads, crew people, grips, DPs, production designers who test you and push you into like, oh, this kid doesn't know what he's doing. I'm gonna do whatever I want, and you've got to take command of it, And my famous story is I walked on a set of a show that I was producing, and I was like the production company behind it, and I was literally writing the check to pay this guy, and he didn't know who I was. He just saw this director, and he was like this frustrated first AD who wanted to be a director. You could tell he just was very frustrated.
Mhm.
And I didn't hire him. And he started giving me crap day one. And within a few hours, I had to pull him aside and I said, look, man, I can do this without you. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need you here. Me and my DP have been working for a long time together. We can run this set without you. So either get in line or you can leave. And oddly enough, he was very sweet after that. He was very nice. and, and it worked out well. But though sometimes as a director, you want to keep a nice harmonious set, but sometimes you got to show a little teeth every once in a while. So what's your experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, they were right in some way because at the time I was on this project that someone else started directing, and I was doing behind the scenes from for a production company on several of their projects, and at the same time I was shooting shots on the side, and I remember showing my directing reel to the producer and say, hey, when you have a project that maybe you think I'm right, I would love to direct. I've done several shorts and I won several festivals. And he was like, yeah, we'll see. And he told me, listen, this could be it. This could be the project. I already have a director, but if something doesn't go the right way, I would like for you to direct this movie. And when the director said yes, he was going to do it, I told him, listen, give me a chance here. I will write 3 webisodes, the little stories, to put on the DVD or to start a web series, whatever, based on the same character and in a different moment of their life. And if you like them, then we can, you can use them. But at the same time, I can start to stretch my legs as a director, and I can prove you that I can do it maybe for the next one. And of course, the whole situation started to be that I was um, involved in the whole production because I was scouting with them because I was going to do the shooting in the same locations and using kind of the same resources and so forth. And so I knew the project, I knew the script, I knew the actors from their casting, I knew the location, I did the whole preparation with them. And when I started, the project started, there were certain days on which the main crew would shoot in a corner, and I would be in another space nearby to shoot my little shots. And what happened was that the production wasn't going very well. The producer wasn't very happy about the relationship and the style, literally the visual style that the director was using. And then when I started to show him my material, he liked it a lot. He was, he liked the tone, he liked the style. Also, I overcome certain kind of very difficult situation and still delivered something usable. And the producers at one point said, "Listen, we're not working with other the other director is not working. I want you today to direct." And I was like, "I cannot come to. I mean, this morning at 7:30, I cannot be the director. I didn't prepare the scene, nothing." So I told him, "Listen, give me 2 weeks to regroup and figure out what we are missing, what is done, and because we are already like 1 week into production, so on a 2.5 weeks project, so it wasn't that it was much. Theoretically, almost more than half of the movie was shot, and so he granted these 2 weeks. I started to work with the same DP, kind of same crew, but the only people that knew what was happening was me, the producer, the DP, and another person that was a rental equipment that was on board with the project. They knew that I was going to be the new director.
Right.
And then the the day of the night before the first day of shooting, of my shooting, we regrouped in Lancaster in the hotel, and the whole crew was there. Nobody wanted to start the movie again because it was very miserable what happened before. Nobody believed that the movie could go anywhere. Even the actors, there were some friction and some issues, uh, mostly with the previous director. So when I was introduced to the crew was like, so now from a director that this directed a few feature, we go to a director that actually was the behind the scene maker. What's going on here? So the very first day on set was a trial by fire on any level because the crew was just waiting to see me failing and having no expectation. It was a very hot day, and nobody wanted to be there again because it was too hot. And in the desert in near Lancaster, it can be quite brutal. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember that the change was because the very first setup was a few on a different location from the base camp, and we went there to do this setup, and we did apparently something that the crew didn't do before. It was a Dutch angle. It was just a very kind of extreme
Simple. Yeah.
shot, simple, but with a silhouette, the sun
Yeah.
and the gun, something very strong for that kind of genre, right? That you can see in Mad Max and stuff. So apparently, I didn't know. This a friend of mine told me later that while we were shooting, voice came back to base camp. That actually, this director maybe knew what he was doing because the style was totally different. That the style was interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and we were doing some new action things that weren't even in the script, and they were like very quick at what we were doing. And by the end of the day, it was the first day that actually we finished in the 12 hour. And when we went back to the hotel, pretty much everybody was waiting, and they applauded the returning together. And the dinner that we had was a very jovial and happy moment for everybody. And from that moment on, kind of the crew was behind me 100%. And I think that it was just by doing it and not trying to be arrogant about what I was doing. It was literally, I know it's difficult. Actually, I did something that I still remember. When I did it, I thought this is going to be backfire so badly because they think that I'm just a rookie, or I can get something out of this. So in the evening, when everybody was looking at each other and saying, what's going on here? Why this guy is now the director? I stood up and I said, listen, I don't care what is your agenda with this movie. I don't know if you're here because you like the script or like the producer or you want the money or you want the experience. The only thing that I need from you is to make sure that tomorrow morning when you come to the set, you remember when you were in a dark place called the theater and you were dreaming to do this. Come with that attitude and we're going to do miracles together. And I didn't
Great.
conquer everybody. I conquered a couple of people that were enough to give me at least a little bit
A chance. A
of a
chance.
chance in the morning, and then throughout the day I kind of gained their trust.
And I mean, when I was starting out, I mean, I literally had spies on the set to see if like they were reporting back to the producer. Like I had on one show I did, or one project I did, I had the scriptie. She was literally second guessing me every time. Well, why don't we do this? I'm like, girl, you need to step back. Like I am the director here, and I was 26 or something like that. I was a young director, but I knew enough. I'm like, no, I can do this. And I ended up that day with I think we ended up with 75 setups. I move really,
Wow.
I move very quickly when I direct, and we moved really, really, really quickly. And at the end of the day, she went back to the producer. Was like, he's fine. You'll be okay. He's okay. But these are the kind of things they don't talk about at film school. They don't talk about these things.
No,
These are things. These are politics of the real world inside of being a director. And you can't read it in a textbook. Even it's like you've got to live it. But at least if you know that there's a potential of it coming, you can somewhat prepare yourself for it. But sometimes there was I had spies, I had people that would, I had DPs that wanted to take, control. And that's why I became so educated in in lenses, in camera. And I come from post-production. So I have a language in post-production as an editor, as a colorist, as a post-production supervisor, as a VFX supervisor. So I can just start talking.
well, yes.
I know that. So I could start talking about lenses. And I could talk about this. I geek out about that kind of stuff. So that at least I can talk the language with the DP.
They talk, yeah.
At least we could talk. I'm not saying I can do what you do because I've tried it. I don't like it. It is a whole other thing to be a DP. But at least you can show them that you know what you're doing and have basic understanding. Because there's some directors who are I had them in my edit room that would walk in. They're they don't know anything about the process. They know nothing about the process. They're like, so what are you doing? I'm like, this is a rough cut. What is a rough cut? I'm like, are you kidding me? Someone gave you $3 million? What the hell is going on here? So, which made me a very angry and bitter filmmaker.
But it's true. I mean, the thing is that every time when you start, but also when you are in a different kind of pond, when you move from one level of a budget to another, when you move
Correct.
from one city to another, it happened to me something similar when I prepared a movie to shoot in LA. And then, literally 2 weeks before start shooting, we had to move everything to New York, and we couldn't bring anybody. So I had a new crew, I had part of the new cast, and especially the new crew. Although kind of we liked each other, but literally we met 2 weeks before start shooting, and they all knew each other. So it was kind of them versus me in one way. And at that time, I had this conviction that I wanted to be a democratic director. I want to be the director that is always nice, there's always answer, that gives motivation whether it is a yes or no. and that backfired
Oh,
badly
they'll
because
tear you apart. You
oh
can't
yeah,
do
they
that.
they thought that I didn't have any idea of mine because I was listening too much. So I got to the point where at one point I remember there was a setup that was um, I had my idea and it was good, and then the DP came up with an idea. It was good too, but I said no just for the sake of now I'm starting. I need to start to say no because otherwise it's going to go bad. And at the end, everybody was like, "Oh, you did the 180 from not knowing much to do a stellar job at the end." I'm like, well, I kind of manipulated all of you because at the end we always did what I wanted. But the problem was that at the beginning, the feeling that there was this continuing testing was creating also lots of anxiety on me. And only when I started to realize that after all, we didn't know each other. The famous trust and the chemistry wasn't there because really we started from a few days before, and then started to work on the relationship also outside the set. The set helped a lot to moving to build actually a crew that worked together with me on my vision.
It sounded very much like an arranged marriage. Like it looked like you would like build a relationship with your LA crew, and you were like, okay, these are
Yeah,
people I know. I have a relationship with them. I feel comfortable. But then you're like thrown into an arranged marriage where like these are the people you're going to shoot with. Like you're going to live with these people now. It's like wait, 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 wait,
yeah,
wait, 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 wait.
absolutely.
And then you've got to like, okay, I guess I got to learn how to fall in love with them. Like have to learn how to live with them because I don't know them.
And at the end, that happened. I mean, I really love working with them. I think considering the situation and other issues, but I think we did a terrific job, and the chemistry at the end was very strong. It was just a matter of let's start to trust each other and let's start to not second guess too much. But also that lesson I think went deeper for me because actually it was one of the things that I realized, and I tell my students all the time in terms of these politics that is there, that there is a very fine line between being an arrogant director and being a good director.
Right.
And the fact that you have your vision, your ideas, and you need to fight for them doesn't mean that you need to be blind in front of good suggestions or other things that are coming. And I think that the way to see that is most important is, after all, you are, as a director, you are the only person on set that has a full vision of every component, how they're going to work together. So you are the only true judge about these kind of close up or this kind of shot work because of different elements. Again, for music and again for wardrobe and all those things. Everybody else, with all the good intent that they have, they come with a specific agenda in some way, with a specific
Of
point of
course.
view
Of
that is
course.
their professional point of view. So when a DP comes in and says, "Oh, this angle would be beautiful," well, it's true, it's a beautiful angle, but maybe you want ugly for that moment of the story, and only you know that ugly is what you're looking for. You share it with as much as you can, but you're the only final judge about it. And I think that when you look at the suggestion from this lens, from this perspective of saying, I understand where they're coming from, and I need to judge them if they build up the world I want to build or not. It's not arrogance anymore. It's just the fact that actually you are paid for the vision that you have, and the producer choose you or you put together the team because of that vision. And everything that doesn't belong to that vision is not good or bad. It's just not right for the story. And in that way, I think that's the best way to see it. It's not that you want to be stronger or show off or you want to shut down everybody else. The reality is that everybody can come with great ideas that could belong to the project or great ideas that they don't belong. And you're the only judge about it.
You're the filter. You're the filter that has to
Yeah,
filter all this stuff out. And you're
absolutely.
you're you're absolutely right because I mean I've had DPs who've come on the set, and by the way, just as a disclaimer, I love DPs. I love what they do. They're an invaluable part. Many of my best friends are DPs. But in my directing career, you've had DPs who come in and they're thinking about their demo reel. Like I can use this
Of course.
production design. I can use their budget to build my
Yeah,
reel, and it's not about the story. So they come in with a very egotistical sense of it, and that goes along with every aspect of the business, from an actor to a production designer to
yeah,
to stunts. Oh my God, stunt guys! I love stunt guys. Aren't stunt guys the craziest people I've ever? I've never met a stunt person who I love them all. They're always tweaked because they're the only ones that go, okay, I need you to jump off of that building off the second floor, and then this is what the stunt person will. I've never met a stunt person who doesn't say this. I could do the eighth floor. Can I do the eighth floor? I want to jump off the eighth floor. And let me can I set myself on fire and then do the eighth floor? But there's no need for fire in the scene. Can we write that into the scene? Can we put it? That's what they're looking for. They're always looking for that thing. They're insane, but I love them for it because without great stunt people, you can't make good movies and action movies.
Also, they push you in direction that you didn't expect.
Right.
Also, right?
Because we're scared because we're human beings. We're human beings and we have fears. So we're like, I'm not going to ask you to jump off the eighth floor on fire. I think the second floor will be fine. And they're like, no. What we can do is then we can take the car and shoot it off the eighth floor. We'll spin the car around. Like, what is going on? They always push you. Good stunt people, good stunt coordinators always push you in your storytelling. But it's something that it's. I've never met a stunt person who's not completely tweaked in one way, shape, or form. And I mean that with all the love in the world.
I agree.
Now, can you?
And I mean, I worked on a movie that was about free running and parkour.
Yeah.
So those kids, they really want to jump from buildings.
They're just like, yeah, I could jump off that 10th story building. I'm like, what? What? There's no wiring. I don't care. I'll do it. Yeah, that's youth. That's absolutely youth. Now, are there any pitfalls that directors should always look out for? I think we've talked about a bunch of them, but are there any ones that stick to your head? They're like, I wish someone would have told me this when I first started.
Yes, actually.
Yes.
There are many, but I'd say that probably to start with one is to understand everybody's role in the production. I think that when you are informed, and also if you have experienced even more, every position or as much as you can. First of all, the respect for every position grow because you realize how much actually they contribute for what they're doing to the project, and also you start to realize that you can speak their language, as you were saying before with the DP about lenses and about camera movement or detail about encoding. All these elements are making the conversation richer, deeper, and faster, just because you are able to understand their thoughts, where it's coming from, and what they pay attention to. So definitely, I'd say that one pitfall nowadays, especially coming from now being also a teacher, that lots of students, they want to jump into one thing, especially if they want to be directors, and they don't want to try. They don't want to spend their time doing something different. Mm-hmm. And that something different can actually open up doors for them, like it happened for me doing the behind the scenes, but also gives you the sense of everybody position and everybody contribution to the project. So one suggestion is don't make the mistake of this gigantic pitfall, because actually you are going to carry on longer in your life. Because if you start at the very beginning and you don't know much, but you're still able to fake it in some way, you keep going in a career kind of limping, because you can never really take off as much as I think you can once actually you know what you're doing. I remember this was actually told, an editor told me actually, Danny Green, that is a famous editor, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and that he was an editor. He was saying, know how to build a camera, know how to change lenses, know how to clean them, know how to push a dolly. And at the school where I was, at the Los Angeles school, we had all this equipment. We even had a Steadicam vest. And I tried to do Steadicam operating, and it was so hard and complicated. So I actually rotated. I think that I did everything but makeup, pretty much, on all positions. And every time I'm learning something, working on a project in that position. And I learned how much, maybe I didn't like the position, but I knew and understand what they were doing. And very connected to this, I think that the other pitfall is not understanding actors and not or not respecting actors enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the best way is actually uh, acting. And
Taking a
I
course,
think
yeah, taking
every
an acting
director
course. Yeah.
an acting course, and in some way also, maybe you do an acting course and you learn a few things, a few tricks, but the main goal is to learn how to appreciate the difficulties that they go through so that you can, empathize and understand them. But I would say once in a while, put yourself again, maybe, in a class of a friend that you know or something like that, to refresh your mind about the fear of the stage and being in front of the camera instead of behind, because it's something that, sometimes we think give for granted, but that moment where everything is around you and you need to perform and you need to deliver because everything has been designed for you to do it. The weight of those moments is and the pressure is incredible. And I think that as a director, sometimes a little bit of a reminder every few years of that pressure could be very helpful.
Now, what advice would you give a filmmaker trying to break into the business today?
Um, well, today I think that we are in a very good place actually, with in respect to a few years ago. I think that there are many more opportunities because there are many more screens that you need to fill up. So there
Mm-hmm.
is a need for much more content. Whether it's the classic film for theaters that is kind of a in a dire situation right now, or web material that you can watch on the phone. There are more and more opportunities to produce your own content and put it out there and find an audience. So I'd say it's very important for me to first of all be honest with yourself and see if this is a fire that you cannot put out, that is a true passion. And the best way to test it for me is to figure out a way to be on a set, being a PA. If you survive a full production on a set as a PA, then probably you have the stamina to do whatever else is needed, or the passion that is needed. Um, so an experience on set, I think, is vital. And the other thing is to start working and shooting um, your own project. Write scenes, or even a scene that you see in a movie that you like. Try to replicate it with your iPhone and some friends. Uh, the opportunity to shoot and to learn everything you can from that shooting is so valuable. At any level of production. So even just doing it by yourself, I think it's vital. I think it's Werner Herzog that said, every time you're on set, you learn from every minute that you're spending there,
Correct.
and I think it's totally true. And you can learn as a PA, but of course, when you direct your own things, from your mistakes, and also by your successes, you learn much more about your strengths and what you can do to do better next time. And I started that way. I mean, I literally started with basically no knowledge of filmmaking, just reading a few books to understand, Crossing the Line and a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
other things. But my very first short was a consumer camera and me dancing in front of it for a specific reason that is better I don't share. But that short was something that actually opened doors because it's something that was done with lots of passion and with a message we wanted to be expressed. It was very clear to me, and still today, it's something that helped me out at the beginning with again no knowledge, technical knowledge, but the desire and the will to shoot whatever was happening, and then the technical knowledge kind of came later.
Now, and what are three of your favorite films of all time?
I think that we go back to what we mentioned before, Star Wars because it was the first one. Dead Poet Society because was the one that I watched at the right time in a moment where I started to understand that my quirkiness or my uh, interest about filmmaking and writing weren't that crazy, but they were actually something that could make sense. And later on, American Beauty because it kind of came as a full circle after that Poet Society. That Poet Society tells you seize the day, and I might have skipped that moment in when I was in high school and college, and then American Beauty kind of taught me it's never too late to seize the day. So when I had the chance later on, I grabbed it, and now I'm here. So that's why this is the my trilogy.
And Simone, where can people buy the book?
The book is on Amazon right
Mhm.
now, and probably in some bookstores if they still exist.
Mhm.
Or otherwise, can be bought on the MWP, Michael Weezy Productions, the publishing company, and MWP.com, and you can find it there also with other discounts and other material.
Simone, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure talking to you, talking shop with a fellow director, and talking about the trials and tribulations of being a director. And hopefully, we've inspired and scared the hell out of some people listening today. So, thank you, my friend, for being on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was great being here. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.